So if you're new to our channel, I'm Linda.
And I'm Troy. Today we're going to show you a mistake we made with our batteries, and by the time we realized it, it was beyond salvage.
And then we're going to give you the 4 factors that are going to go into us determining our final battery setup.
And at the end of the video, Linda's bought me a new gadget, and we're going to have some fun with it.
So if you watched our video where we went dry camping in the Shenandoah, you know that we were already planning on upgrading this dealer installed battery. We just weren't planning on upgrading this soon.
Yeah, guys, we made a very careless mistake, and by the time we realized what we had done, this battery was no longer ever going to be capable of holding a charge, ever. It was a very inexpensive battery, and we got away with it fairly well, actually. But what we want is that you watch the video and maybe it triggers you so you don't make a mistake with a much more expensive battery.
Yes, now if you watched our video where we had the 5 spare parts that you needed for towing, that came about because of this mistake. So there's a small hint in there. But right now, let's head on over to the camper and we'll tell you the story. So here's what happened. When we returned from a prior trip, we realized that the emergency breakaway cable had rusted and broken away from the truck. So we took the broken one inside the camper so we could compare it to the one we were looking at online, as we wanted to make sure it was an exact fit. Now, we likely got distracted with thinking about another project, and before you know it, we left it on the counter without plugging it back into the camper. And if you notice on the tongue, there is a sticker that specifically says not to do this. We came back 2 days later, turned on the battery, opened up the camper, hit the lights, and no power. Now, we checked out the fuses, made sure the battery disconnect was actually on, and we were confused until we looked down, we saw that cable, and realized what had happened. And unfortunately, there was no recovery on this battery.
This is the culprit, your safety breakaway switch. This end goes into a little box located right here. This end runs forward and hitches up somewhere around the hitch ball, somewhere in there, so that in the advent the trailer becomes disconnected from the truck. This little device right here will pull out of this box. It will trigger an instantaneous seizure of both tires on the trailer, and that seizure is powered from your battery. So whether or not your battery disconnect is on or off while you're traveling, it's designed to work regardless. It's a really important feature to remember, however, if you're doing service on your truck or you have one that fails like we did, where it rusted through and I went to replace it, and by doing so removed it long enough to make sure that I bought the same model but forgot to put it back in. It's going to continually draw power off this battery until that battery is a goner. We also had our mechanic inspect the trailer to make sure that this long-term seizure of the electric brakes didn't cause any damage. We made sure that it was able to tow properly because we pulled it on several trips since then with no side effect. So keep that in mind. Emergency safety switches and breakaway cables are integral, but they do have some features you need to be aware of.
So with the trip plan the following week after the battery died, we knew we were going to need one a lot sooner than we anticipated. Now, here in the South, during the summer, we're not going to do a lot of boondocking. In fact, it is 89 degrees inside this camper right now, and it was 99 degrees last week. So AC hookup is going to be a necessity. So our plan was to spend the summer kind of research, shopping, and doing some planning, going back over all of your comments, your description of your setups, and your advice to determine that final battery setup. And in a minute, we're going to give you the 4 factors that we are looking at that will determine that final battery setup.
Yeah, everything about what we're doing right now is in preparation for another big trip out west. Late in the fall, we're going to be heading out to Arizona and Utah, and we're pretty excited about it. Obviously, this kind of accelerated us a little bit, and to get us over the temporary problem that we had with battery, I went ahead and bought another battery. It's made by US Battery. It's quite a bit more robust than the one that came with the dealer, which was a 65 amp hour Deca unit. What I put in was a 145 amp hour US battery model. It's probably not going to make the cut, but it is going to survive over the summer and into the fall with us. We're going to monitor it, see how it does.
Now, the jury is still out on this battery. What we're hoping is that it would be a good enough battery for somebody that's just looking to do maybe an overnight harvest host stay, but no real boondocking. So we'll let you know in a future video how this battery performs over the summer. Right now, in the future, we are switching to, kind of doing the final evaluation on our solar needs, doing some evaluation of those holding tanks, and looking for and planning for some boondocking opportunities when we go out west. So if you'd like to see how those progress, please
like and subscribe.
And remember, Desi always wants you to hit that notification bell. So here are the 4 factors.
Number 1, need. We need to determine how much power we're going to use versus how much time we're actually going to be boondocking. We want to have enough power and maybe a little bit more, but we don't need to spend a lot of money on a system that we're not truly going to use.
And that leads us to price. So flooded lead acid is obviously the least expensive, lithium is the most expensive, but we have to look at things beyond the price of the battery. If we go lithium, are we going to have to upgrade that converter and the Go Power controller? And we have to look at the lifespan. Lithium lasts longer, but do we really need a battery that's going to last 10 years if this isn't our forever camper?
Number 3 is weight. We have approximately 650 pounds of cargo carrying capacity in this small trailer. In an earlier video, we showed that we're already nearing the max. 2 6-volt flooded lead acid batteries take approximately 15 to 20% of that available volume. So that's important when you consider lithium ion maybe takes 5 to 10%. So weight is always a consideration.
And then the last one is the ease of setup. So the camper is pretty much already set up for flooded lead acid. If we get 2 6-volts, we might have to add a few wires, but it's a pretty straightforward process. If we do lithium, we're going to be looking at moving it inside, so we're going to have to find a spot for it. We're going to have to move some wires, and then if we need a new converter and controller, we're going to have to wire those as well. So we're just trying to determine, how far do we want to take it.
So there you have it. Those are the 4 things that we have to consider. For Linda and I, we just have to determine which ones are the most important.
Yeah, and this is why we're doing all of this. We're having fun just kind of evaluating, learning, and doing these experiments. So we hope that you guys are enjoying being brought along for the ride.
Now, let's get on to that gadget. Last week, Linda saw something that she thought we could use and we're going to have some fun with. It's called the Save a Drop water meter. This device looks like, by its description, is designed for conservation or home gardening, but I've got a different idea. What I want to determine, and what we're trying to come to, is figure out exactly how much water we're putting in the holding tanks, and then determine how much time that actually gives us boondocking or dry camping. First things first, though, I want to determine with a basic, simple study, I wanted to see how accurate this device is.
Oh, yep, that's perfect.
The meter says 5 gallons. That certainly looks like a 5-gallon paint bucket full at this time. So it appears to be pretty darn accurate. It costs about $20, and we're going to put a link down below. If you think you can use it on your projects, I think it might be some fun. Well, guys, that's going to do it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed the video. We've had some fun making it. We're going to see you again next week. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.